Northern California Innocence Project. We are housed in Santa Clara. This is one of our amazing, incredible clients. Zavion Johnson has Ranger Sienna just introduced. I'll do more of a bio about Zav later, but I have a little bit of a presentation first. First, I want to start with kind of an icebreaker here, get you all engaged and involved in the conversation. Sorry. Okay. So, why do you think innocent people end up in prison? Anybody? No wrong answers. Control, that's a good, great answer. Anybody? That's right. Money, prison industrial complex, definitely alive and well. Anybody else? Poverty, absolutely. What's that? Profiling, yeah, that's absolutely right. Implicit and explicit biases, right? Anything else? Great answers so far. Forced false confessions, what did you say over here? Mistakes, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that was just a little groundwork, get your juices flowing, get you all thinking about the subject we're going to be diving into today and hearing from Zav. Before we get into that, I want to go over a little bit, thank you. I want to go over a little bit about the history of innocence work. Our work is rooted in Black history, and we want to honor that and pay homage to the folks that laid the groundwork for our work, not only during Black History Month, but always. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the giants that, we kind of are privileged to stand on the shoulders of. So this woman, Ida B. Wells, this quote is great from her. If there was no chance for a fair trial in these cases, we should have the facts to use in an appeal to public opinion. And really, that is our work. That's what we do, right? But this groundwork was laid by Ida B. Wells because she was So Ida B. Wells was one of the founders of the anti-lynching movement. As I'm sure you all might be aware, over the course of about 40-ish, longer, like 60 years, there were over 4,000 lynchings, extrajudicial lynchings in our country. And that's according to records maintained by the NAACP. Thank you so much. So during her lifetime, Ida B. Wells really made it her mission to be a huge spokesperson for anti-lynching, and her work as an investigative journalist and really an educator is what kind of laid the groundwork for the anti-lynching movement and eventually worked to end extrajudicial lynchings in our country. The thing that really connects Ida B. Wells to our work is that Ida used the power of innocence and the narrative that these people were innocent people that were being lynched at the hands of people who really didn't have the facts to judge. And she made it her mission to really publicize those facts and use the fact that these people were innocent to make people understand how wrong lynching was, which led to eventually lynching being ended in that horrible way. Another person that I want to highlight is Ed Johnson. Ed Johnson is one of the first documented innocence cases. In 1906, Mr. Johnson was wrongfully accused of raping a white woman in Tennessee. He had his trial within less than 30 days of this not supposed rape. The woman was raped, but it was not by Mr. Johnson. There was a trial that was really devoid of all fairness. He had an all-white jury who was completely set upon his guilt. There were newspaper ads that were taken out that basically told everybody that if they didn't convict Mr. Johnson, then this was going to cause this giant racial problem within their community. And his trial, like I said, was really devoid of all fairness. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to death all within about 40 days of when the supposed crime happened. The two gentlemen, Ed Johnson is the gentleman in the hat, and the two gentlemen pictured are Noah Pardon and Styles Hutchins. Noah Pardon and Styles Hutchins were really strong members of the Black community in Tennessee, and Noah Pardon took Mr. Johnson's case all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And Noah Pardon was actually the first Black man to argue in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. And he actually won Mr. Johnson a stay of execution. Unfortunately, after that stay of execution was set forth by Justice Harlan, this is actually Justice Harlan's order saying that the execution had to be stopped. Mr. Johnson was ripped out of his jail cell by a lynch mob and executed extrajudicially. His last words to the lynch mob were, "God bless you all, I am innocent." A lot of the rights that we enjoy today, the right to a fair trial, the right against self-incrimination, none of those things existed at the time of Mr. Johnson's trial. But a person who helped usher in a lot of those rights when he was on the Supreme Court is Thurgood Marshall. Justice Marshall was not only the first Black man to serve as a Supreme Court justice, and he was not only a person who heralded in so many rights that we all enjoy today, he really was an innocence lawyer. Thurgood Marshall worked at the Legal Defense Fund and used his litigation to end segregation in the United States. While he was doing all that civil rights work, he also was doing work to represent folks who were being wrongfully convicted, and he looked for three criteria. There was an injustice because of the person's race or their color, that the person was innocent, and that there was some possibility of establishing precedent that would advance rights for people of color, but in particular for Black people in the United States when they were facing prosecution. So Thurgood Marshall really changed the narrative in a lot of ways on what it meant to have a fair trial, especially as a person of color in this country. So I'll transition a little bit after talking about the people that really laid the groundwork for our work to the modern day innocence movement. Many of you might have heard of the Innocence Project before. We are a project within a larger Innocence network. We're not all connected, but the Innocence Project in New York was established in 1992 when it kind of became clear that people were being wrongfully convicted. And what ushered in this new understanding that you could be wrongfully convicted was that DNA testing was really proving it, right? For a really long time, people had this view of our criminal legal system that it didn't get it wrong. Our criminal legal system is the best legal system in the world. There's no way that we were putting innocent people behind bars. But DNA testing really turned that belief on its head and ushered in this new movement. So the Northern California Innocence Project, the organization that we are from, was established in 2001 at Santa Clara University. There are 72 Innocence Projects nationwide, or worldwide, and then there's 4 Innocence Projects within California. Obviously, we are one of those 4. One of the founders of our project, the Northern California Innocence Project, is pictured there. Her name is Linda Starr, and she founded our project with her partner, Cookie Renolfi. A really important statistic to keep in mind is that 50% of the exonerated population in our country is Black. And when you compare that to the 13% of Black folks who are actually in the United States, you can see there's disparity on its face, right? And a lot of that is contributed to what you all mentioned earlier, right? Racism, implicit biases, unfairness, and really implicit biases and explicit biases infect our criminal legal system at every level, not only for those who are innocent. So some of the causes of wrongful convictions that you all touched upon: false confessions, jailhouse informants, faulty forensic sciences, fingerprint testing, hair testing, A lot of the forensic sciences have been shown that there's actually a lot of subjectivity in them, so that creates issues when you're presenting something as a surefire forensic science when actually a lot of it is at the discretion of the person doing the testing. Government misconduct is a huge problem, bad lawyering, and mistaken eyewitness identification. So at NCIP, we work to exonerate, educate, reform, and to help with re-entry. An exoneration is when a conviction is overturned, and that sets the person back to the time that they were before the trial. That means the state can retry the case. And at NCIP, we have helped 37 people be freed from wrongful conviction. And then this is a graph from the National Registry of Exonerations. It shows, 3,651 people have been exonerated in the United States of wrongful convictions since they started tracking this in 1989. The National Registry of Exonerations website is actually a really cool resource if any of you ever want to go on and check it out. I think their website's under construction currently, but it provides a lot of great information about wrongful convictions. So I encourage you all, if you're interested, to go check that out. We also educate, so we have a clinic at our law school where we train lawyers, and basically they help us on our casework. I was actually a student of NCIP and I'm now on staff as an attorney. And then we also do speaking engagements similar to this one, right, where we're just trying to educate the public about wrongful convictions and what it means and what people can do to get involved. We also have a reform arm of our organization that works on legislation basically for innocent clients and just the criminal legal system on a whole to make it more fair and equitable. Recently, California passed the Racial Justice Act, which allows for convictions to be challenged if their conviction had some infection of racism during their trial or during the process leading up to their incarceration. The gentleman pictured there is Warren McCluskey. McCluskey v. Kemp is the landmark Supreme Court case where McCluskey presented evidence that his sentence to death was in fact infected by racism because the state where he was disproportionately sentenced people who were black and killed white victims to death. That case was really one of the impetuses for the Racial Justice Act. And then re-entry. We try to help our clients the best that we can when they come home, as you can imagine, after being wrongfully convicted for a crime you didn't commit. Reintegrating back into society is not an easy task, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with Zav. So these are some of the things that we try to help with: housing, healthcare, compensation, things like that. And like I said, we probably will get more into that when we talk with Zav. So I'm now going to turn it over to Zav and introduce Mr. Johnson to you all. And this is from Zavion himself. Zavion Johnson is an exoneree who served half his life falsely accused and imprisoned at the age of 19. After losing his trial, Zavion was unfortunately convicted of the false charges and sentenced to double life and sent off to serve his sentence at the most deadly maximum security facilities, level 4 facilities. Being an innocent man, Zavion fought tirelessly to regain his freedom by filing numerous court documents. In addition, Zavion wrote to many organizations who he felt could help him gain his freedom. After making no headway with his appeals, Zavion decided to focus on his future self. He started to attend church, self-help groups, and was also enrolled in a vocational electrical program. Finally, in 2014, Zavion heard from the Northern California Innocence Project, an organization he had written 2 years prior. An attorney from NCIP, Paige Kanan, visited him in prison to hear his story but made no promises. After about a year, Zavion's hope for freedom increased. He now had a legal team of 6 people who all made it clear that they were invested in helping him prove his innocence, which was lost due to false expert testimony. Since his exoneration in late 2017, Zavion has been adjusting to life outside while continuing to heal. He has also spent time educating California state legislators, attorneys, college students, and law school students to ensure that no one else will suffer the injustice he suffered. Zavion sits on the advisory board of Exonerated Nation, a nonprofit organization which helps exonerees like him with care and aftercare and reentry services. During his speaking engagements, he connects with his audience as he shares honesty about his story of faith, survival, and healing. So please help me welcome Zav to talk with you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming and sitting here, sharing your time with me, because we all understand and know that time is valuable. As Laura told you guys, I am an exoneree. They came and saved me and helped me. I got convicted at the age of 19 for a crime I did not commit. I was accused of killing my 4-month-old daughter. She pretty much slipped from my hands in the shower and hit her head, and as a result of that, 2 days later she died. So for me to think that I would be arrested, for me to think that I would be picked up at the funeral, for me to think that I would get convicted, for me to think that I would be taken away from my family for 17 years, yeah, that was never in the cards for me. That was never nothing I thought about. I had dreams and aspirations to go to college. I had dreams and aspirations to be a father. But all that didn't happen. So during my incarceration, I actually explained I pretty much did any and everything I could to not be what they depicted me, to not be what it is that they said I was, because deep down in my heart, I knew, deep down in my heart, I knew that I was going to gain my freedom again, so I stayed consistent. I stayed prayed up, kept my faith, all realizing and understanding too that any day my life could have been ended. Not because I was a bad person, not because I was weak, but just because of what was written down on a piece of paper. Nobody was going to take time to figure out or know or realize if I was innocent. They just figured like I was in there with them. Like the jury had said, I don't think Mr. Johnson would be here if he wasn't in trouble or did anything. And that's so far from the facts of my case. I got convicted due to faulty medical evidence. I really like to say uneducated doctors. 13 plus witnesses came and testified and stood in the pathway for me to help facilitate my freedom and my innocence, but it didn't go that way. The jury decided to believe the doctor and his expertise, and also to my trial everything that I feel like he should have did. So I pretty much reached out, got in contact with one of the California Innocence Project. After 13 or 14 years of being in, I was told that nothing was pretty much promised, but they believed in my case, they believed that there was something there. And fast forward, I ended up with six attorneys, and I ended up securing my freedom after, I think, 3 or 4 year fight. I'm home, I'm here, trying to get back home. Say I left at 18, came back at 30-some years old, so I don't know if people can imagine what that is. There's a huge time gap there. There's a lot of experiences that I lacked, a lot of things that I didn't get a chance to know. But I'm here every day trying to learn those things. I'm here trying to educate others as well, because I never want this to be anyone else's shoes. Like I said, I was in the care of my child. Accident happened, and like I say, never did I think that I would get a double life. Never did I think that I would spend 17 years in prison. And yeah, even though I'm home now, even though I'm free, I'm cleared of all charges, the pain, the loss, just PTSD, everything that you kind of think of, walking away from a place like this is still attached to me. It's still on my back. It's still in my psyche. It's still in my DNA. But I still fight every day to remain the person I know that I am. I appreciate the Northern California Project. I appreciate the work that they do. I appreciate you guys coming out to get educated, because it starts with you guys. It starts with who you put in office. It starts with who you elect as your police chiefs. It pretty much all starts with us. It was the people against Avion Johnson, and everyone here is people. Everyone here lives in the state of California, so I think that we all need to come together to try to heal the broken system. That's, like I said, the team is going.
Actually a quote from one of the jurors in his trial that basically said, none of the evidence indicates that Mr. Johnson was the kind of father that would have intentionally harmed his child, but because of what the doctor said, we had no choice but to convict. And we now know that what the doctors testified to was false, and advances in medical science have proved that the narrative that they told the jury at Mr. Johnson's trial just is not actually based in sound medical science. So Zab, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but could you tell us a little bit more about what helped you get through your 17 years of wrongful incarceration?
Yeah, faith in God, and also too, like I say, just me knowing who I was as a person, who I was as a father, who I was as a brother, a son, grandson, so forth and so forth. But yeah, just grounded in the faith that I will see this through. I will come on the other side.
You're amazing, Sam. What was the first thing? Well, maybe we'll talk a little bit. How did you feel during the court process when you were kind of waiting on the court to finally see what you always knew? How was that experience?
It took forever. It's kind of like waiting for something to download, and you know, like soon as it's downloads, you're gonna be okay. But it took forever, and the opposition or the prosecutors always kept asking for extension of time. And, I just think that was either to hold us up or to stop us from fighting. But it's like, why y'all need more time? Y'all know y'all wrong, or we were trying to prove you guys wrong. So it's just like, let it happen. Let it unfold.
And then after that really long process, and you walked out of prison, well, county jail, but you walked out of incarceration. What was the first thing you did after winning back your freedom?
Smell the fresh air. So being inside a prison, there's no trees, there's nothing, dirt, concrete, rocks. So you can just imagine what you smell. It just smells like dirt outside. But being released from the county jail, after all that time, I remember being outside at night and just smelling the fresh air. It's something that I'll never forget. It's something that I'll always be visually connected to.
What were the biggest challenges? Like we alluded to, it's not an easy path after you are exonerated. What were the biggest challenges you faced when integrating back into society after your exoneration?
Trying to find a place where you think you fit in. You try to go back to your old life, you try to go back to your old self. Family and friends still think that you're the same person, but no, things have happened, things have changed you. And so still also too trying to fit in and make friends at 40 years old is not the same. It's not the same. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I'm not really too much attached to no one from my past. I don't remember no one from high school. I don't remember no one from my past life because I was literally going through that long. So I guess trying to fit in, find my place, provide what it is that I want to do. That's another thing too. A lot of people get a chance to go to college. A lot of people get a chance to try different jobs. But I'm at an age to where I don't got that time. It's not a luxury right now. So that's another big part. Trying to find your place.
Have you become involved in any advocacy efforts to reform the criminal legal system?
Yes, any opportunity that I can to sit down and talk to an audience like this, talk to legislators, talk to anybody that I feel as though can make change, I'm all for it. I advocated at the Capitol before, outside by myself. It's just because I want to tell people, I want to let people know that these shoes could be yours too. Like I said, everybody in here, pretty sure they took care of a child, or took care of, or is a parent, or whatever the case might be, accidents happen. For someone to spend double life, 17 years, or however much time, a second, a day, away for that, yeah, wrap my mind around it. Still, even after 7 years of being home.
How has your experience shaped your view of the criminal legal system?
I don't trust in the legal system. I don't trust in laws. I don't believe in it. But now that I have resources, now that I know that it's good people in the legal world, and now that I have opportunities to talk to college students that are going to possibly be investigators or whatever, the thing that I can say is to do the work. Don't break the law to pretty much put somebody in jail. And you see that happen a lot. People turn blind eyes, people tell extra lies, I guess, to make it possible. It's very unshakable, it's unstable. Thanks Innocence Project gives me hope.
You give us some. What would you like to see changed in the criminal legal system?
I guess don't judge a book by its cover. If you see somebody that looks like me or looks like something that you don't understand, or it's not from your background, not from your family, I just think that everyone needs a fair shake, everyone needs a fair shot, a fair trial. I think that the picture that you had up there with the justice is blindfolded. I don't think that should depict what our justice system should be. I think justice should be able to see, hear, and speak.
What support programs have been most helpful in your transition after your accreditation?
Shout out to Exonerated Nation, After Innocence Network, Northern California Innocence Project. They do workshops, they do all type of healing groups, all healing justice as well. Jennifer Thompson in Virginia. There's a host of a lot of things that people pour into to try to help us convene. Every year we go to an annual conference, and all the organizations come together, so it's like meeting up with our family again.
How can people, like the folks in the audience, better support work against wrongful convictions?
Educate yourself. If you learn something like this, tell somebody else. Invite them to learn as well. Because like I said, this could have been anyone's shoes, black, white, young, old, it didn't matter. I just think that it mattered a little bit more because of how it looks. But at the same time, I forgave that man. I forgave him for not being educated as he said he was. And it took a whole lot for me to sit in the room with him and talk to him. But we did it. And accepted his apology. It came 17 years too late. But you know, he had to realize that he made a mistake. He had to realize that he altered my life in a way that it's never going to be the same.
And by him, Zab is talking about the forensic pathologist, the doctor that testified in his original trial.
Yes.
He testified as to the science as it was at the time, and he actually repudiated his testimony 17 years later, which helped play a part in Zab's wrongful conviction being reversed. Kind of similar to the question on how people can